3 mental models that help me make better, faster decisions and live a fuller life. On any given day, it can feel like you make 100 decisions before lunch. One way to simplify things is to reduce the number of decisions you make. Several years ago, I somehow resolved to drink only black coffee and wear Lululemon clothes every day. I try to save most of my decision making energy for work, where it's natural to obsess over whether you make the right decisions. After a while, I realized, did I make the right decision? Isn't that helpful of a question? Instead, I started to ask myself, how do I make better decisions faster? And after taking a deeper look into some of this stuff, I started geeking out on decision making models. Now, I admit the stakes feel different now than when I was younger. I made decisions much faster then. Part of that was ignorance, part was recklessness, part was just youthful energy. If I goofed up, I had time and energy to course correct. I have less course correcting energy now, which has actually made me slower in making a call. So these decision making models have helped a ton. Now, once I dove deeper into these, I found I was already following some of them naturally. You may find the same for you, but still, there's a lot of power in naming these things. Okay, model number 1, two-way doors versus one-way doors. Some decisions are one-way doors: selling a company, getting married, getting divorced, moving across the world, changing careers. Sure, they're not always irreversible, but they are very painful and costly to reverse. Other decisions are two-way doors: trying a new drink, testing a price increase, and if you're in my line of work, trying a new content format. The bottom line is that if whatever you're trying isn't sticking, you can always go back. Most decision-making paralysis comes from treating two-way doors like one-way doors. That's the real pitfall. For example, I spent 6 months debating whether to start a newsletter. Should I consolidate all my content instead of spreading across multiple platforms? Are people going to hate it? Is this the right call? In reality, this was a two-way door that I treated like a one-way door for all eternity. Now, that said, the path to a one-way door can often be made up of a series of two-way door decisions. Dating that leads to marriage comes to mind, as does one of my recent projects and partnerships. A few years ago, I asked my friend Andy Storch if he'd be open to writing a book together. Now, writing a book together is a one-way door. If we agreed to it, there was no real backing out. But before I popped the question, I spent about a year making a lot of two-way door decisions. First, I wanted a partner who had already been through the book writing process. Andy also had a ton of other experience. He was already a best-selling author. He hosted 2 podcasts. He'd done a ton of speaking, webinars, virtual summits. And because of that, I knew we could direct most of our energy towards writing a good book. Awesome. Now, obviously, things can be different when you're actually working with someone. So I quietly observed how Andy moved and carried himself. We spent a year together in one of my masterminds, and I noticed how he showed up for others and how he engaged on calls. During that time, something happened that really showed me another side of his character. This was a two-way door. When I was holding a small workshop in Florida, I asked him to speak. Well, Andy flew from Barcelona to do the talk, but unfortunately, he got sick and he had to hole up in his hotel. Despite being sick, it still felt like Andy was at the event. He treated it as if it was his own. This spoke volumes to me about his commitment and the kind of person he was. When the moment felt right, I popped the question about writing a book together, and all those two-way doors became a one-way door. Now, during our book writing process, we made a few two-way door decisions to stress test our content. We hosted a few webinars together. We tested our material with live audiences, and we even co-presented at his conference, Talent Development Think Tank. All of these made for a great creative process together. We've now launched our book, Own Your Brand, Own Your Career. We hit number 1 in career advancement and professional development on Amazon. We've sold hundreds of copies in our first week, and the momentum has been great. This whole experience showed me the power of using two-way doors to inform your one-way door decisions and make a bigger bet. So the key insight here is to move slowly on one-way doors, move fast on two-way doors. Okay, model number 2, the Lindy Effect, and why I write books. The Lindy Effect is a filter. The longer something has endured, the more likely it will keep enduring. Lindy has a quirky origin. The term originally comes from Lindy's Deli, it's now gone, in New York City, And in the mid 1900s, comedians and showbiz people would hang there and notice something. The longer a Broadway show had already run, the more likely it was to keep running. They would say that show is Lindy, meaning it had staying power. So this concept resonates with me because it connects to material consequence. The idea that some things are tangible, lasting, and real in a way that digital stuff isn't. Now, I prefer tangible things. I'm an 80s kid. I grew up in a very physical world. My toys were actual objects. I love Transformers, changing it from a car to a robot and back again. I played a lot of sports. I loved baseball. I was terrible at it. I love basketball. I started for my high school team, and I fell in love with live sporting events. And I will sometimes splurge on playoff games or the chance to see the all-time greats just to soak up the energy and be in that kind of environment. My last splurge was dishing out last-minute cash to watch the Lakers play in Boston, where I got to see LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum all in one night. And for the record, I hate both teams. But these physical things come to mind. These in-person experiences come to mind a lot because most of my work has been to help people market and monetize their expertise using the principles of personal branding. And there are plenty of people in my industry who focus only on digital products and online courses. But back in early 2024, something changed my perspective completely. I was invited by my friend Sean Osborne to an exclusive mastermind in Chicago with Russell Brunson, one of the best known marketers in my industry. Now, I don't necessarily love Russell's marketing style, but he said something that lit a fire in me. He said, "No one has ever told me that my course changed their life, but they have told me my books have changed their lives." And that hit different. Books are one of the few things that tend to outlive their authors. They are Lindy. So I decided to go full Lindy in my work and really commit to writing books. They're physical, they endure, they have material consequence. AI be damned. Around that time, several things converged in my life. Being in my mid-40s, I was thinking a lot about legacy. And just a few months before I went on that trip to Chicago, I ended a relationship where I sort of came to terms with not likely having kids in this lifetime. My dad was diagnosed with cancer right around that time too. And when I flew to Korea this past May to take care of matters after he passed away, I didn't see my blog open on his laptop screen. I saw my books on his couch. He had been reading them. That meant a lot. And it makes you think, because one of the sneaky things that can make us feel really empty and unfulfilled in this digital age is that the things we create just live in a cloud. I have never once sat down and looked at my Google Drive or my Dropbox folder and said, wow, look at this amazing body of work. So I've been ringing this bell pretty loudly in the ears of my closest clients. Write your book. Stop chasing vanity metrics or social media trends. Go Lindy or struggle forever. Whatever that means for you in your business, in your life, go Lindy. Build things with material consequence. Mental model number 3, the Chick test. Now, I'm sure there's a better name for this, like regret minimization or something like that, but this is my way of making it personal. This model is named after my mom's husband, Charles, whose nickname is Chick. I know you might have been thinking I was talking about women or something like that. No, that's not what I meant. Okay. And I have no idea how Chick got that nickname. Chick is 89 years young. And unlike that stereotype of cranky old people, Chick loves life. I've been able to spend a lot of time with my mom and Chick through the years. After I got divorced in 2018, I hunkered down with them for weeks at a time between travel and trying to find my bearings again. And those were untethered days, but they were some of the most adventurous of my life. So when I'd come back from whatever trip I'd been on, I would sit with Chick at dinner and we'd have wine, and I would regale him with stories of how I raced along the Chao Phraya River in Bangkok, or how my friends and I visited a famous club in London, or how I went to a private version of Burning Man in New Mexico. And Chick would listen with intense interest. He'd ask about every detail, and then he'd bellow out this hearty laugh, which always felt like a mix of like joy and envy. And he'd go, "Michael, you're really living life." And he'd just chuckle. And at first I thought Chick wanted to relive his own glory days. But after getting to know him more, I realized he started life kind of late. Chick was a veteran. He got shot while serving as a chaplain during Vietnam. He then became an Episcopal priest until his mid-50s. And when he resigned from the priesthood and he was finally allowed to get married, I guess he was hell-bent on making up for lost time. My mom is his third wife in that short of a time. Okay. And so I can tell Chick wishes he'd seen more of the world before he got older. I can tell that he wished he had more experiences. So when opportunities come up in my life, I use the Chick test a lot. I ask myself, will I regret not doing this looking back on my life when I'm Chick's age? Right. So the Chick test plus the Lindy Effect helped drive me to write more books. The Chick test helped me say yes to an opportunity to move to Florida years ago and work with leadership expert John Maxwell just 6 weeks after I got divorced. It was not convenient, but I just said yes because I felt like I would regret it much later in life. The Chick test pushed me to try to build a marketing agency and to go to that mini Burning Man and many other things. Now, not all of these things worked out, but I am glad I tried them. Had I not, I wouldn't have made core memories like carousing through Bourbon Street after a speaking engagement in New Orleans. I invited Chick and my mom to that event, and watching Chick and my mom get down with random girls on a stage at some dive bar, that was something I would never thought I'd see. Girls even put dollar bills in his pocket. Thank God he kept his clothes on. But that really happened. And so the Chick test through the years has served me really, really well. It's what drove me to go to Uganda earlier this year and finally do a safari and go with my friend James to see the work that he and his organization, Ugandan Water Project, had been doing. The timing was tough, but I still said yes. The Chick test drove me to reestablish a relationship with my dad and visit him once in Hawaii and then later again in Korea, and then a third time just this past May when he passed. And when he did pass, I had zero regrets, because we'd made our peace and we had been in each other's lives for years. If you're curious, I share a lot of my dad's story in my speech at Justin Shank's event, which you can watch on YouTube at the link down in the description. My friends have told me I've lived a lot of life in my 4.5 decades, and the Chick test is one of the main reasons why. So I just want to encourage you, give yourself the gift of knowing that you tried what you wanted to try, that you've left it all on the field, that you really gave that idea, that opportunity, that business, that relationship, that you really gave it a real chance. The key insight here is at 80 years old, at 89 years old, when you look back on your life, what will you wish you had done? Start doing those things. I don't know what decisions you may be wrestling with right now, but consider some of these models. You might be surprised at how clear things become. And speaking of the Chick test, if you've been sitting on a book idea, wondering if you should finally write one, you already know the answer, probably at 80, 89 years old. You'll probably regret not getting those ideas out of your head and onto paper and in a book. So later this fall, I'm thinking of hosting an accelerator for those who want to ideate, write, and market their book. So if that's you, just go to mikekim.com/writeyourbook. You can get on the waiting list there. No obligation to join. I'm going to just test the water, see if this is something that maybe you and others are interested in, and you'll get details. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you found anything helpful here, it would really mean a lot if you're watching on YouTube, you hit like or subscribe to the channel. It really helps get word out. And if you'd like to stay in touch, I'll leave all my social links below. You can leave a comment on YouTube. You can hit me up on LinkedIn or Instagram. That's where I'm most active. I hope these decision-making models will help you as much as they have helped me. See you soon.